fellow Toastmasters. My name is Derek Paquin. I am your Toastmaster for today. I'd like to give a thank you to my mentor and my president for helping assist me with all the tips and advice as I give my first try here as Toastmaster. In setting up this meeting, I was very impressed and inspired by the teamwork that went into people volunteering for the various roles and just learning the amount of coordinating that goes on to make these meetings happen. Very impressive. So very important skills to help me translate to my personal and professional life. So with that, we have a all-star lineup today with a lot of talent. First off, I'd like to invite our grammarian, Shelley Henry, up here to explain her role as grammarian.
Thank you. Good afternoon. This afternoon in my role as grammarian, I am going to share a word of the day today. And today our word is regale. Regale is how you pronounce it. The definition is to entertain sumptuously, to feast with delicacies. You can see I had a little trouble spelling the word delicacy, just a little confusing on the board. The other definition is to give pleasure or amusement. Our sample sentence is, he regaled his grandchildren with stories of his time in Morocco. I thought during this time of festivities, we can talk about regaling over the holidays and in the new year ahead. Today, in your role as grammarian, I will be listening carefully to the speech today. I will look for colorful language and creative use of phrases. We'll also look for those more negative things, any awkward uses of language or any awkward phrases that come forth today. We'll also be looking at connectors like ums and ahs and things like that and keeping track of those things as well. I will also be taking a look at counting the number of uses of the word of the day, and I look forward to reporting back to you at the end of the meeting.
To explain the timer roll and how the timing will occur, I invite Greg up here.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, I will be your timer for today's event. You're all familiar with the red, yellow, green card system. Both of our speakers today have asked for 5 to 7 minutes, so at 5 minutes they will receive the green card and green light. At 6 minutes they will receive the yellow card and yellow light, and at 7 minutes they will receive the red card and red light. And at 7 minutes and 30 seconds, give or take 5 minutes, they will receive the buzzer. For our evaluators, 3 minutes is the time frame for that one. So at 2 minutes you'll receive green, 2:30 you'll receive the yellow, and 3 minutes you'll receive the red. And that is it. Thank you.
As an Army guy, I just want to point out the irony of having an Air Force guy as our timer. So, to regale us with some humor for today, please welcome Courtney.
Hello, everybody. First, let me ask, do we have any hunters? Anybody who hunts? Maybe a hunter. I'm sure you know somebody who hunts. So I have a little story for you. Hopefully, I will regale you with an entertaining tale, only because nobody was seriously injured. But a very important lesson to take away. I was talking with my mom back home, and she told me about a story she heard on the radio. A school bus driver was shot while he was driving a school bus. He was okay, pulled over, immediately called 911, the whole time wondering, who shot me? What happened? So the police officer showed up and they were taking care of him, and fortunately he wasn't very seriously injured. He was grazed, which is good. And then all of a sudden 2 hunters show up with big guns, and the police officer thinks, I have my shooter. Turns out one of the hunters came forward and said, I think it was me. I was shooting a deer and I think I hit the bus driver instead. The cop said, oh, well thank you, and he was still arrested. He said, was there a deer running in front of the bus? And he said, no, I saw the bus and I thought it was a deer. So ladies and gentlemen, hunters, I feel day one, just before you go out I feel it's very important for you to know the difference between a 5-foot deer and a 37-foot school bus.
Alright, our first speaker today is Callie Vandenberg. She is working on her 6th project with the goal of working on vocal variety. Her speech is titled In the Nick of Time. Please welcome Callie.
I was chairing a meeting a few weeks ago, and in meetings, when you chair, at least in my area, many times, it requires you to share your screen or a portion of your screen with whoever is in the meeting with you. I was seconds away from sharing my screen, and all of a sudden I saw an email pop up at the bottom of my Outlook. Update, it said in all capital letters. I must have had a look of panic, which I don't know what my panic face is, but probably, and a big smile, all at the same time. This was just in the nick of time, I thought to myself, and I was very relieved that I had not yet clicked the share button. I quickly grabbed the email and pulled it over to an Outlook folder marked personal. Toastmasters, fellow Toastmasters, and distinguished guests. You're probably wondering what could have been in an update email that was coming to my work email that I would have had to so quickly usher away to a subfolder. Well, it just so happens that I had applied for a business analyst position and had interviewed the week prior, which was wonderful, which is why I was smiling. At the same time, my current manager was sitting across from me in the room. I was not prepared for him to know about any of this at the time. So today I'm going to be using my time with you to be telling what the 3 skills I have learned from Toastmasters that helped me most in my interview process and why I thought that they were the most important. So the first is presentation skills. Just being up in front of people in general, I think is so important to really gain a good comfort level. And in my presentation, when HR had called me to invite me for the interview, they said you are to prepare a 15-minute presentation to share at your interview. And then there was specific criteria of what I had to present on. So I had to decide how I was going to present, in what type of manner. Was I going to stand up and give a speech? Was I going to share a PowerPoint? I ended up going with PowerPoint because there was visual elements that were needed for the presentation, so I went with that. I think one of the things that took them off guard the most is the interview room that I was in was very small, and there was a table probably not much bigger than this. And my presentation was showing up on the screen when I walked in. And I sat down for my introduction, and after that I asked, may I stand up to present to you? They all looked surprised by this, but said that that was fine. And I think that was one of the best things I could have done to get me off on a really good foot. It allowed me to just have a relaxed posture, to take a big deep breath, and to really be in presentation mode, which helped take away my nervousness. The second thing that I've learned in Toastmasters is to practice. Practice, practice, practice as much as possible, and especially when you have an interview. Your interview is your one and only time to present yourself in the best light, to talk about all of your knowledge and skills, but also to be a confident person. And so I knew that if I didn't practice and was nervous or mousy, I wasn't going to be able to come across in my best light. Dr. Ghosh gave us talk in Toastmasters, and one of the biggest things that he said that he does to help him prepare for speeches is to voice record himself. I have done that for an interview that I had for an internal promotion a year or two ago, and then I also did that again for this new position, and it works so well. I feel like the parts that work the best are because I can hear if I have a lot of filler words, but it also allows me to make sure that I'm hitting on those key behavioral things that Mayo loves to ask about. What was your situation? What did the steps were you involved with, and then what was the outcome? And so really making sure that I'm hitting on all of those points. And then the last thing is body language. Like I said, standing up really helped me to be open and to have my hands at my side, because I know one thing: when I am standing in front of people, I either gesture a lot with my hands when I really shouldn't be, when it's not appropriate, or my second reaction is to hold them really tight down, and I know that that's awkward as well and can seem closed off. So I actually would present, trying to focus on my motions, and I think that that helped me a lot. And then another thing that I do when I sit is I touch my face a lot and I pull up my earlobe, which is really weird, but I do. And so knowing that I do those two main things when I'm nervous definitely helped me to recognize those before I got in a room with a bunch of people. My presentation went so well. I had practiced, I knew it, I relied a little bit on my slides, but nothing too heavily, and it really just set the tone for a great interview from start to finish. When I left the interview, I was so happy and I had absolutely no regrets. I thought, I put everything that I have on best display, and if I don't get this job, then, it wasn't meant for me. I'm happy to report that the update email was to schedule a phone conversation so they could offer me the job position, which I happily accepted at that exact time. So I think the biggest things Toastmasters really helped me with, again, were just the presentation skills in general, learning how to practice, and then learning how to have appropriate body language, especially when you know you're going to be in a situation where you're meeting new people or you might be nervous.
All right. Next up, timer, please allow 1 minute for evaluation. Thank you. For our second speaker, I'd like to invite Andrew up here. He is working on his third speech, and it is titled Take a Hike.
Imagine yourself walking in the woods. The only sounds that you hear are nature, whether it's a squirrel scurrying through the leaves or a woodpecker knocking on a tree. The only sounds of humans that you hear are the sounds of birds. Whether it is the crunching sound in the winter snow, or it's just the hard packed dirt that you're stepping on. Fellow Toastmasters, one of my favorite hobbies is going out on hikes. It is my time to clear my mind and think about things that I haven't been able to focus on throughout the week. And one of the best things I love about it is I get to share it with my wife, who is also an avid hiker. The physical benefits of hiking are limitless. Not only is it good just to stretch your legs and strengthen your muscles, but there's also other benefits of helping working on your posture and studies have shown that it decreases blood pressure and arthritis. When my wife and I were pre-child, we'd go out on long hikes across the country to national parks. Now, with a little kid, our hikes are a little shorter. We either have the little chipmunk running in front of us or behind us, or usually in my case, right on my back in a nice big backpack. And she's usually kicking me to go a little faster. But not only are there physical benefits, but there are mental benefits. Dr. Gregory Miller of the American Hiking Society has said that research proves that it reduces stress and anxiety if you're out for hikes at 30 minutes to an hour several days a week. For me, this is the time to let my go. I get to catch up on any thoughts I had throughout the week. If there was a critical problem at work, this is my time to think about it. And if I want to take a break, my mind can wander. And no worries, it's not like I need to get it done within a certain deadline. I have that time to myself. Then, thirdly, in my personal experience, there is also a relationship benefit to hiking. As I said before, my hiking buddy is my wife. She was the one that really got me into hiking, and we have found together that we can take long hikes together and talk about deep conversations. This is our time to share our feelings and discuss anything that we need to without stress related. We can talk about things, whether it's the family finances, home improvement projects, or just catching up on things, family matters, or stories from work. It is our time to focus on this stuff. Now, when I'm hiking with her, we usually say we're going to go out for a short 20 to 30 minute hike. These hikes actually turn out to be 1 to 2 hours, and neither of us noticing it. In fact, before we had children, we would go out on long hikes, and we'd realize we'd go out 4 to 5 hours at a time. Now, the only downside to this is if you don't bring enough food or water, those conversations tend to get a little bitter. So, in closing, I want to explain to people that you don't need to necessarily go out across the country like my wife and I went to go hiking. We've been to the Rocky Mountain National Park, Smoky Mountains, and the Black Hills hiking. But Minnesota has over 50 state parks, and Rochester itself has county clubs. Olmsted County has county parks, and Rochester has city parks, where we're able to get outside and hike. And it doesn't matter what the conditions are. Whether you're wearing a sun hat during the summer, or strapping on snowshoes and walking through the unplowed streets in your neighborhood. These conditions don't defer us from getting out and hiking. So I'm hoping I can convince a few people to get outside, instead of looking inside the window, to take a step outside in the fresh air and take a hike.
Please take the next minute for evaluation. next up, I'd like to welcome our table topic master, Stacy.
When I was growing up, we didn't have a lot of money. I used to say we were middle class, but actually we were poor. And when my mom and dad first got married and first had their children at Christmas time, she decided that she needed some Christmas music. So I imagine this story, I imagine in my head. I can see my mom, it's the late 70s, so I imagine she was wearing little, flared jeans, straight brown hair, going into Shopko, straight to the bargain bin, and finding her favorite records to buy for us for Christmas. And we listened to those same 3 records my entire life growing up. And when I grew up and became an adult that doesn't have a record player anymore, I had those songs transferred into MP3 files, and I gave them to my brothers and sisters so that we can still listen to them today and share them with our children. And what I'd like to know is if there are any particular traditions that you had as a child that you have brought with you to your adult life and shared with your family. Do I have any volunteers? Courtney, welcome.
This immediately brought back such happy memories from my childhood. My grandparents passed away when I was still in high school, but every year we would go to my grandmother's house, and she made ceramic ornaments, and they were always on her tree. Granted, they were up really high, so we couldn't get to them. We were pulling down the candy canes and the tinsel, not the really nice ornaments. And for a while when I went away to college, we didn't celebrate Christmas too much, so I never got to see them. And my brother, who's 6 years older than me, when they moved into their first house, I celebrated Christmas with them. I saw those ornaments, and I just brought back such good memories. And what I also saw were the ornaments my brother bought my grandmother every year. Every year he bought her one, and I don't know why he picked them or what he did, but there was always those trees, and I saw those ornaments, and I loved them. And it brought back such good memories, and it made me realize that I was never not going to put up the ornaments that I had. I love Snoopy. My tree is filled with Snoopy. But the first year that I got married, my mom gave me another set my grandmother had that I didn't know.
Oh.
My kids get to see those, and they're still on the top.
Tradition that you carried on. I'm sorry, that took me aback. So my mom picked out those 3 records, and she picked them out because they all had her favorite Christmas carol, The Little Drummer Boy. And my next question is, what is your favorite Christmas carol? And hi. Any volunteers for this? John Potter.
Yes, you're taking us down memory lane. We had Snoopy's Red Baron's Christmas, and I found the CD about 10 years ago, and I tortured my children. But my favorite Christmas carol is by far Joy to the World. I love listening to it, and there's many variations on it, and I can never get tired of listening to it. November 1st, we put on Christmas music in our house, and we play it all the way through. We raid the library and pick out all our favorite CDs for the first month, and then the month of December we have our own, so we don't get tired of playing it. But, a little known fact, you can sing Amazing Grace to Joy of the World. And there's other renditions, and it's very meaningful and very much enjoy it. And thank you for taking us down memory lane.